If you suddenly stopped speaking to a close friend or a spouse, the bond would begin to erode almost immediately. Without communication, even the most intimate relationship eventually reaches a point where the parties lose contact entirely. We recognize this in our human lives, yet we often treat prayer as a passive, emergency-only exercise, contacting the Creator like a vending machine only when a crisis demands a response. A genuine spiritual connection relies on the same active, continuous communication that sustains our vital human bonds. When we treat prayer as just a collection of vague internal thoughts, we experience spiritual drift. As shown here, the tether thins, leaving us increasingly vulnerable to the pressures and distractions of the world around us. To build an enduring relationship with God, we can look to the specific physical mechanics used by history's most resilient believers. By understanding the tangible architecture they used for prayer, we can move beyond empty ritual and build a functional, lifelong connection. Daniel was a high-ranking advisor in Babylon who found himself in a political trap. His rivals successfully pushed for a decree that mandated the death penalty for anyone who prayed to anyone but the king. Rather than panic or hide, Daniel relied on an existing communication system he practiced for years. He didn't wait for the crisis to decide how he would connect with God. His protocol? He prayed 3 times a day at an open window facing Jerusalem. This predictable schedule built a structural defense during times of peace. When the death decree arrived, his connection with God was already fortified. Consistent scheduling serves as the foundation for staying grounded when external circumstances become volatile. Along with the timing of prayer, there is the physical act itself. While we often view prayer as an internal thought, the Bible frequently links it to the position of the body. Scripture describes a spiritual conflict. When we kneel, we physically declare our allegiance, aligning ourselves with God in a way that pushes back the darkness. There is a physiological link between our posture and our internal state. By placing the body in a position of submission, we are training the heart to follow that physical lead. While the Bible shows people praying while standing or sitting, intentional physical reverence disrupts our tendency toward casualness and focuses our attention. Using the body in this way forces the mind to recognize the authority of the Creator it is addressing. Enoch lived in a society that was rapidly declining, yet he maintained a continuous connection with God for 300 years. He managed this by balancing his active service to others with periods of total solitude. These moments of withdrawal allow him to focus so deeply on God that he began to reflect the divine character. When we think silently, our thoughts are scattered, but speaking a prayer, even in a whisper, forces those thoughts into a single directed path. This physical act reinforces that God is listening, turning a mental exercise into a literal conversation. Using our voice creates a bridge that links our daily, mundane tasks directly to the divine. When we combine predictability, posture, and the use of our voice, prayer becomes more than a mental obligation. It becomes a physical discipline. These tangible habits move us from being passive participants to being fortified prayer warriors, ready for whatever the day brings. The results are traceable. Daniel's discipline influenced an entire empire, and Enoch's communion was so deep that observers could see a physical change in his face, a reflection of the heaven he spent so much time contemplating. A disciplined, private architecture for prayer is a powerful mechanism for creating visible, substantial changes in the world around us. You don't need a perfect environment or hours of free time to begin this process. Right now, wherever you are, try a physical challenge. Whisper a prayer out loud. An unbreakable bond with the Creator starts the moment you choose to engage with Him physically. Many of us view prayer as a quiet, internal monologue, a routine often performed in the gaps of a busy day. It feels less like a conversation and more like a religious obligation that we hope occasionally reaches its destination. At the foot of Mount Sinai, the atmosphere was different. The Israelites weren't bored, they were trembling. To them, the raw presence of the divine was so physically overwhelming that they begged for a mediator, terrified that direct contact would be fatal. Moses was the one who climbed upward. He stepped directly into that smoke and fire, choosing to occupy the frightening space between a holy God and a terrified people. We often view Moses through the lens of miracles, the staff, the plagues, the sea, but his leadership was actually defined by his ability to negotiate. He spent his life in a state of constant, bold communication with the Creator. For Moses, prayer was the blueprint for his authority. He transformed intercession into a practical tool for survival, demonstrating that leading a people requires a constant, abiding connection to the source of their direction. The geography of the Exodus was a death trap. Millions of people were moving through a landscape that offered no water, no food, and no margin for error. In this environment, the frequent rebellions of the Israelites weren't just complaints, they were existential threats. When the nation turned to a golden idol, and later when they refused to enter the promised land out of fear, they faced the very real possibility of total erasure. In these moments, Moses was the only thing standing between the people and divine judgment. He navigated these crises by appealing to who God said he was. Moses reminded the Lord of his own self-description, a God who is merciful, gracious, and slow to anger. He used God's character as the basis for his plea for mercy. He also pointed to history. Moses didn't just ask for a favor. He invoked ancient covenants with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as binding agreements. Securing the nation's survival required more than a quick request. Moses spent 40 days and nights face down, refusing to leave until the threat lifted. This wasn't a passive ritual. On a national scale, Moses treated prayer as a relentless strategic campaign, proving that advocacy for others requires a stubborn refusal to let go. The weight of this advocacy eventually hit closer to home. Moses' own siblings, Aaron and Miriam, turned on him, publicly questioning his authority and sparking a family crisis in the middle of the camp. When Miriam was suddenly struck with a debilitating disease as a result of the rebellion, Moses had a choice. He could have allowed the consequences to play out, letting the punishment serve as a warning to others. Instead, he immediately pleaded for her healing. He chose to bridge the gap for the very person who had just betrayed him, showing that his role as an intercessor was stronger than his personal resentment. Yet this closeness to God didn't make Moses an equal. When begging to enter the promised land after 40 years, he met a clear refusal. He would never set foot in it. This shows intercession isn't about control. Moses remained a servant. Accepting his advocacy didn't grant immunity from God's boundaries. True leadership in this context means having the empathy to pray for those who hurt you, while maintaining the humility to hear no regarding your own deepest desires. Most of us will never lead a nation or stand on a trembling mountain. Our lives are lived in the quiet spaces of family, work, and community. But the life of Moses shows that God doesn't require us to be perfect to speak with him. He simply requires us to be present. We are invited to share our joys, our worries, and our daily needs with the same directness. This relationship is meant to be as natural as this. When trials arrive, our thoughts can turn toward the Creator as instinctively as a flower tracks the sun across the horizon. It is a staggering thought. The same power that governs the mechanics of the universe is also attentive to the smallest anxiety of an individual. No joy is too minor to share, and no chapter of our experience is too dark for him to read. Like Moses, we all have a sphere of influence. There are people in your life today, perhaps a friend in crisis or a family member struggling, who need someone to stand in the gap for them. Who is relying on your advocacy today, and what is preventing you from starting that conversation?